something stuck in my eye.
Well, stop rubbing it.
But it hurts and I'm just trying to get it out.
Instead, try just pulling down on your eyelashes. It'll force it to come out.
Huh. That worked.
Dang it! What's wrong with you?
Every picture I take, I have a double chin.
That's because you're not putting your tongue in the right spot. Huh? If you press your tongue to the roof of your mouth, it'll make your jaw more defined. Oh. I have to pee so bad, but this person won't get out of the bathroom! Just scratch the back of your calf. What? The back of your calf. Scratch it. Why is this helping?
They call it sand because it's in between the sea and the land.
The division symbol is just a fraction, but with dots replacing the numbers. When they say that this little piggy went to the market, that doesn't mean he went to the store. I'm gonna show you guys how to win the jackpot on some arcade games almost every single time. Okay, for something like Whack-A-Win, you don't want to come in here and just hit it as hard as you can because that's just not gonna work. Okay, you want to take this hammer, make it a 90-degree angle with the button, and then just drop it. Let's go! And to win something like Cyclone, it's all about timing. It's not as hard as you think, but one thing that does help is keeping your hand over the button and then just like timing it for a couple circles around until you... Right there. But I got it. I got the Cyclone. And then to win something like Monster Drop, what you want to do is find the jackpot. You see that little yellow button right there? You want to hit this button right when it passes that screw. It's going to allow the ball just to sink right into it. And then to win the jackpot on the 2-minute drill, you just want to shoot for the middle one. Don't worry about the blue or the red, and then make sure you hit all the receivers. And to win a prize for something like the claw, literally just get inside. It's the easiest way to do it. Y'all, I'm telling you, this stuff works.
Ugh, I keep sweating through all of my shirts like I put deodorant on every morning. What is going on?
Not all deodorants are antiperspirants. Some are just made for smell, and you really should be putting it on at night.
At night? Dude, I've had the hiccups for like 3 days now.
No shit. Plug your ears.
Why?
And drink this.
What?
Drink this.
Are they gone? Okay, I want to talk to them about it. Like, I really do, but I don't think I can without crying.
Well, I mean, you can practice forcing yourself not to cry. You just have to focus on your breathing and blinking, and if worse comes to worse, you can just pinch the bridge of your nose and it'll block your tear ducts.
Why hasn't anybody told me this before?
Here are 5 facts you didn't know about the male body. Men are more likely to be habitual snorers. 45% of men snore every single night compared to 20% of women. They have thicker skin. Like, actually though, their skin is literally thicker. Men's bodies stink. You probably knew this, but it's because they produce more of a hormone called androstenone, which, depending on your genes, can make you smell like vanilla or urine. The male orgasm typically lasts half as long as a female's. So sorry. Men, you can't move your dick without clenching your butthole. Stop trying to do it! Humans are so stupid! We can't agree on anything! Seriously, I challenge you to try and find one thing that everybody can agree on. Because I guarantee whatever you're thinking, somebody wants to argue with you. I bet you want to argue with me on that too. We can't even agree what electrical outlet to use. Every country has to have their own. But why would I think we could do that when we can't get on the same page about how to write what day it is? It gets worse. We can't even agree on what year it is! If you ever get a parking ticket, like I did, right here, make sure you pay it online. That way you get to keep the ticket. So if you ever need to park somewhere and you don't feel like paying the meter, you can just slip this underneath your windshield and cops will see it and they won't bother giving you another one. If you ever want to read a book without buying the book, just type the name of the book followed by this. And if you ever want to watch a movie for free, just type this followed by the name of the movie. If you're ever getting pulled over by a cop and you're afraid that you're going to get a ticket, literally as soon as you see the blue lights behind you, call 911 and say that you saw a drunk driver in your location. By the time that cop steps up to your window, they're going to get that alert, tell you that it's your lucky day, and let you go. Things your parents told you that just weren't true. Like straight up fucking lies. Coffee doesn't stunt your growth. You're just short and your parents didn't want a child bouncing off the walls from the caffeine. Cracking your knuckles isn't gonna give you arthritis. It's perfectly fine and it's just releasing air from your joints. If you accidentally swallow some gum, it's not gonna stay in you for 7 years. It's probably gonna be out of your system in just a couple days. Sitting too close to the TV isn't gonna ruin your eyesight. There's been so many studies that disprove this myth. Chocolate milk doesn't come from brown cows. I've met too many people that believe this and it's starting to worry me. 3 times that actors weren't acting. In the show The Fresh Prince, Will is supposed to be giving a very powerful speech about how his TV show character dad abandoned him, but considering that his real life dad did the same exact thing, the emotions feel a lot more real than something that was just made for TV. In the movie Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man gets hit with a big blast of water. Crazy, like he did a great job acting all wet, right? His stunt double actually got hit with all that water. In Harry Potter Order of the Phoenix, when Sirius Black dies, this is obviously a very traumatic thing that happens to Harry, but Daniel Radcliffe's grandmother actually died the morning before they filmed this scene, so the scream that he gave was just so raw and real that they didn't even feel comfortable putting it in the movie. Thankfully, they muted it, and we can still feel it without having to hear it. Here are 3 things that you should probably look out for in somebody else's body language. Lip locking is something that we all do when we're hearing or seeing something that we don't like. Hey, I think it's finally time that you met my parents. That's a great idea. Shoulder shrugging shows where there's an uncertainty in a person's mind. You know, like the whole, I'd like to thank my family and friends and girlfriend. Eye blocking is a telltale sign that somebody is trying to keep a secret or hide an emotion, whether it's them blinking too slowly, trying to have a conversation with their eyes closed, or wearing a sunglasses and a hat to, you know, hide the truth. This is a friendly reminder that preheating your oven is a scam made up by the electric and gas companies. Okay, as soon as you turn this on, pop your food in. What are you waiting for? It's gonna cook while it heats up. Okay, so according to the FBI, if you can solve this mystery, you should consider signing up for their little mystery solving club. So a man and a woman go to lunch together, but because it's hot outside, they order 4 ice waters. The woman just sips on her drink throughout the meal while the guy chugs 3 of them right at the beginning. When they go home, the woman ends up falling ill and then dropping dead before morning. The next day, the doctors run some tests on the man and come to the conclusion that somebody poisoned their drinks. But why is it that the woman died, but the man is still alive? Let me know what you think in the comments. Here's some secrets that hotels do not want you to know about. Everything at a hotel is negotiable as long as you're not rude. They're willing to do this because they think you'll leave a good review. Don't use the glass cups in your room. There are so many maid stories of them saying that they just use the same rag from the bathroom to make it look clean. Most maid staffs don't have a whole lot of time to clean each room. They usually just end up fixing the sheets and pillows, but they don't change anything unless it's the end of the week or if there's a visible stain. If you want a deep clean in your room, tip your maid. The best time to book a hotel is ASAP because prices always tend to go up, but if you're trying to book a hotel room at night, it's definitely going to be more expensive than trying to book it during the day because that's when most people are trying to get a room. And if you're booking online, make sure you clear your history after comparing prices for a little bit because websites will raise the prices if they see you're looking at their page for too long. Horses are much bigger than people, so naturally they just have a lot more blood than we do. So whenever horses get nosebleeds, it ends up looking like a whole crime scene. So one of the only reasons we know how many people died in the Titanic are the shoes that are laying on the ocean floor. Some are pretty cool, others are kind of depressing. And the reason we count the shoes instead of, bones is because when the Titanic hit the floor, all the corpses kind of just scattered and the fish ate the corpses, but the fish couldn't eat the shoes. If you ever decide to go climb Mount Everest, I hope that you remember that the crevices in the ice are V-shaped, which means if you were to ever accidentally fall down one, you more than likely wouldn't die instantly. Your body heat would melt the ice around you, causing you to slip further and further down until your chest couldn't expand enough to breathe. So make sure you bring a friend just as crazy as you to help get you out. The next time you're feeling bad about yourself, I want you to come back and watch this video because nothing is gonna make you feel better like the x-rays of people who made some really embarrassing decisions. Like this guy who survived a 5-inch knife to the skull after breaking into somebody else's house. Or the boyfriend that put the ring he was gonna use to propose in his girlfriend's milkshake. Can you tell what this person swallowed? A toothbrush. On a dare. And now for the stuff up the butt lightning round, you can guess whether the object got stuck coming down or going up. Starting off with an easy one, live ammunition. I want to ask why a cell phone, but I think I already know. I may never eat a candy cane again. I'd put money down and say that they're locked out of their house right now. This is not what Pixar meant by to infinity and beyond.
If you're gonna send somebody a picture of yourself and you want them to think that you're like so attractive, make sure your hair is wet in the picture. Sounds crazy, like it would have the opposite effect, but several studies have shown that we rate people with wet hair as more attractive. We don't even know why. Isn't this sexy? My sense of self-confidence is skyrocketing. If you ever want to go to a concert or a sporting event, make sure that you buy the cheapest ticket possible and then go. Once you're inside, go on Ticketmaster or StubHub and see what better seats haven't sold yet and just go sit there. If you have an annoying relative that's asking you or you and your partner when you're gonna have kids, just tell them you're pregnant and then a few months later, tell them you had a miscarriage. They're gonna be so uncomfortable ever bringing it up again that you'll have your peace. Next time you try to buy something on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, or Craigslist, message the seller with like 7 different accounts just completely lowballing their offer and be a dick about it. And then message them with your actual account giving a low but reasonable offer. They're gonna be so relieved that they're finally talking to a decent person that you'll get that good deal. It's so gross, I burp all the time. Yeah, that's a sign that your body's just really low on stomach acid. You should try like eating your food slower or drinking some apple cider vinegar. Oh my god, I love chewing on ice. I could do it all day long. No, you're probably low on iron, right? Like go eat a steak or some spinach. Oh, my fingernails have like white spots on them. What do you think that means? Oh, that's 100% a zinc deficiency. You'd be more like meat and dairy and nuts. This is a formal trigger warning. Here are some of the worst prosthetics that actors had to endure. Robin Williams said that for his role in Popeye, he had to go through 90 minutes of makeup a day, but that his forearms were the worst part. He said that they would tie my arms up like a junkie for the fight scenes, and that when I had to ask for a bit of blood, they would release my arms until the circulation came back and then just tie me up again. Ian Coletti has to have his face covered up all day to play the character of Eugene Root, aka Arseface, a character in the show Preachers who was horribly disfigured after a suicide attempt. He said that there's not a whole lot of time to eat, that he has to be in the chair by 2 a.m. and doesn't get to go home until 10 p.m. He said that throughout the day he would be able to drink protein shakes, but that this was the saddest form of method acting that he's ever had to do. Jennifer Lawrence has said that if she was given the offer, she would consider coming back to play Mystique in a 4th X-Men movie, but that she doesn't necessarily want to, saying that inhaling all the fumes that made her achieve this look made her sick. I'm not trying to kink shame anybody, but sloths are literally too lazy to go out and find themselves a mate. So a lot of the times the female will sit up in her tree and scream until a male hears her and decides to go mate with her. And honestly, I feel this. Bats have started practicing oral sex because apparently the males of the species have figured out that if they please the female enough that she won't go out and try to find another mate, securing his spot as the father of the offspring. This is also why Batman's mask doesn't cover his whole face. So you guys know about the deep sea anglerfish, right? They're the ones with the little light that dangles over their head. Well, every single one of these that you see is a lady. The males of the species are really tiny in comparison, and when they see a female, they're kind of torn between hunger and horny, so they just end up biting her. So she releases this enzyme that literally fuses their bodies together, and she usually only keeps the testicles to fertilize her eggs. You thought your sex life was weird. Next time you go to make a sandwich, try putting 2 pieces of bread into the same toaster slot. That way, the outside is all toasted while the inside is still soft and chewy. And instead of just slapping the lunch meat onto the bread, try cutting it into these half circles instead. That way there's less overlap and you actually get some meat on the corners. And when you go to grate cheese, make sure the grater is horizontal. There's way less mess this way. Look at all that.
Yo. I don't know if it's the bread or my hands, but this looks so small. Don't forget to give your dog the excess cheese. They'll thank you for it. Did you know that the #1 place people get abducted is grocery store parking lots? This is why as soon as you get in your car, you just need to start it and drive off. Don't just sit here scrolling on your phone. You make yourself super vulnerable to anybody that's willing to take the chance to get to you. Everybody should have pepper spray or one of these keychain weapons, but most people don't. But if you're a woman, I'd put money down that you know about the whole like holding your keys in your hand like you're Wolverine or something, but you should try to remember to keep the keys in your non-dominant hand. Because your dominant hand is going to be the one that you're able to punch the hardest with, but now at least your non-dominant hand has some extra attack points. If you're ever just out walking alone and a guy stops you to ask where you're going, do not tell him you're going home. From my own personal experience, they end up just following you. Instead, say you're going to your boyfriend's place, because guys will respect the hypothetical presence of a man more so than you asking him to leave you alone. Ants can live a really long time. Like, way longer than I thought. Your normal everyday ant can live like 4 to 15 years. And there have been queens on record living up to 28 years. Next time I have to step on an ant, I'm really gonna be like mourning their whole ass life. This is the hog-nosed snake, and when it feels threatened, it'll puff itself up and hiss at you. But if that doesn't work, it'll flip itself over and play dead. And if you take the snake and flip it from its back to its belly, it'll just flip itself back over. Like, no, I'm supposed to be dead. Penguins are able to drink salt water like it's fresh water because they have this gland behind their eyes that actually filters their blood and allows them to sneeze the salt out. Now, I'm not saying that we need to hire a bunch of penguins to save the world or whatever, but it's an option. This has got to be the most perfect example of just because you can doesn't mean you should. They made little nanobots that help sperm reach the egg. And for infertility issues, okay, I kind of get this, but you have to think about the kind of person you're creating by doing this. It's either going to be the stupidest kid you've ever met or the laziest. Don't you think that the poor mobility of the sperm is an indicator of poor genetic quality? Like, we all had to win a race, and this guy just gets valet for jizz. Everybody experiences time differently. There's actually 2 different ways that people say they perceive it, and to figure out which one you are, you just have to answer this question, okay? If I say the meeting on Wednesday got pushed forward by 2 days, what day is the meeting? If you said that the meeting is now on Monday, you have a time-moving perspective. But if you said that the meeting is now on Friday, you have an ego-moving perspective. An ego-moving perspective means that you see yourself moving forward through time, like sitting on a chair, rolling forward. The time-moving perspective means that you see yourself as stagnant and time is moving forward through you, like pulling the chair towards you on a rope. It's kind of crazy to think about, but here's some movie mistakes that you didn't even notice. So in Marvel's Doctor Strange, when he's literally performing brain surgery, nobody's wearing masks. The first Pirates of the Caribbean movie is supposed to be set in about 1720s, 1760s, like that era, okay? So why the fuck is there a cowboy? They aren't supposed to exist for another 150 years. So in Twilight, Edward and Bella have sex. But Edward's a vampire, which means he's not supposed to, like, have a heartbeat. And without a heartbeat, how are you getting an erection to even have sex? And his body temperature is, like, super low, so sperm production isn't really what it's supposed to be. So how is Bella getting pregnant? Here's some psychology tricks that work if you're trying to flirt. Do what's called the triangle gaze. This is when you look at somebody in their eye, and then their mouth, and then their other eye, and smile. They get all flustered. Send an audio message instead of a text or a video, because there's just something about having to focus on somebody's voice that does something to people. When you're talking with them, like in person, try to go for a walk. Your guys' bodies and breathings are going to naturally sync up, and when you are talking to this person, try to remember to slightly slow down your speaking. Just trust me on that one. They say less than 25% of people can swallow their spit 3 times in a row, and that less than 1% of people can swallow it 5 times in a row. I thought that this was way more common, but apparently only 5% of the world actually has freckles. 4% of people have what's called a preocular pit. which is this small hole in front of the ear that's a part of their sinus tract that just got put in the wrong place. 25% of people can force themselves to sneeze by just looking at a bright light. And about 35% of people don't have an inner monologue or a voice in their head. They're just able to think without all the narration going on, which I don't understand, but they do exist. So a team of researchers took a group of people, separated them out by eye color, and then recorded their personality traits, and they found that there were actually some similarities in the groups. And we think that this has something to do with culture more than DNA, but still, here's what your eye color says about you. People with blue eyes tend to be more skeptical and hesitant to try new things, and it's also been linked to being an egocentric, which is this inflated sense of ego. People with green eyes are seen as the creative types and tend to be better at keeping their cool under high-stress situations. People with gray eyes are known to be wise but also gentle and are heavily regarded to be the best in leadership roles. People with hazel eyes are seen as more independent, and interestingly enough, research shows that they're more prone to anxiety and digestive issues. People with brown eyes are seen as the most trustworthy, sympathetic, and willing to help others, but they also have the hardest time getting up in the morning. Next time you're talking to your crush and the conversation gets kind of boring or even a little bit awkward, just ask them what they would do if money wasn't a part of the equation. The conversation is going to get much deeper than just asking them what their sign is or something. You could also just pretend that there's something stuck in your eye. Okay, it hurts really bad, you need their help. Depending on the height difference, they're gonna be looking up at you trying to figure out what's wrong. You're gonna be looking down at them or vice versa. All you gotta do is smile and they're gonna be like, what? And you gotta be like, I really just like you looking up or down at me. If you say it smoother, they'll get butterflies. You could also just ask your crush what their favorite movie is, and no matter what their answer is, just be like, oh, I've never seen it. And if they're like, ooh, we should watch it sometime, they like you. But if they're like, oh yeah, you should watch it sometime, yeah. Do you guys remember when you went to the doctor and they hit your knee in that one spot and it moved? This is a reflex. A reflex is an involuntarily bodily action that's automatic, okay? You can't help but do this, and they're testing to make sure that the reflex works. I wanted to test a couple more. So the hanger reflex was discovered in the 90s, and they're not too sure why it does this thing to people, but they think it has something to do with the pressure being applied to your frontal lobe. Making people do this shit. What? There's a couple different theories as to why this arm floating reflex does what it does, but it really all comes down to the fact that while you're pushing your arms on this doorway, your brain is sending so many like push out signals that when you finally walk away from it, it doesn't stop. Ah. Just another friendly reminder that you are not your body, okay? You're your brain. But the brain also named itself, so how trustworthy can that guy be? In the movie Elf, Will Ferrell's character Buddy has to test out some Jack-in-the-Boxes that he's absolutely terrified of because of the jump scare. And this reaction is genuine because the director was sitting off camera with a remote, just having them randomly pop out to scare him. In the movie Home Alone, the actor Daniel Stern had to have a tarantula put on his face, and he wasn't given a whole lot of heads up beforehand. So he was like, but aren't tarantulas poisonous? Yes. But won't that kill me? Not if you don't scare the spider, but I have to be screaming. Isn't that gonna scare the spider? Spiders don't have ears. And he was like, okay. And so we got this iconic scene. In the movie Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man gets hit with a big blast of water. Crazy. Like, he did a great job acting all wet, right? His stunt double actually got hit with all that water. In the movie Jaws, they decided not to tell the actress who's the first person to get attacked that there was going to be a machine in the water that was going to actually attack her and pull her under. So her screams of just pure terror are as real as they can be. In the movie The Princess Bride, there's a scene where Wesley has to get knocked out, but they weren't able to get it to look as realistic as they wanted it to, so he was like, hit me. Just hit me with this very real metal sword in the head. And they did, and he woke up in the hospital. But at least the scene looks good. Hey, you have a crush on somebody? Yeah? Okay. Do you want them to like you back? Yes, of course. Never say these things. Don't ask them why they don't or why they rarely reply to you, okay? People got things to do. If they don't text back, it doesn't mean they don't like you, but they definitely won't like you if you look all needy and shit. Don't bring up your ex, or even worse, their ex. They're not in the picture anymore. Why are you talking about them? Don't tell them who they should and shouldn't be with, okay? You have a crush on this person, but they might go on a date with somebody else. Don't tell them that that person sucks. You suck! Don't tell them that you stalk their social media, okay? We all know everybody does it, but bringing it up is weird. Don't ask them if they like you more than everybody else, because then they're gonna have to sit there and think about who they know, and you might not be the coolest one. Let me know if I should make a video on things that you should say. What if you're already dead, and this is all just your life flashing before your eyes? Earth is just a wet rock that was left out for too long and stuff started to grow on it. If you keep doing new things, time will actually slow down. Well, not actually, but your perception of it will. And on the flip side, if you do the same thing every single day and never have any new experiences, time is going to speed way up. The color brown doesn't exist. That video got over 15 million views 2 years ago. And I don't think I ever explained myself as well as I could have, so we're gonna try again. Obviously, brown exists, right? If we're just talking about using our eyes, looking around, I can see that that's brown. But what if I told you that it's actually just orange in disguise? If you think about how we see color, it's just light traveling at different speeds. For the color orange to hit our eyes, the light has to be traveling at a frequency of between 600 and 630 nanometers. Brown travels at about 610, meaning it's a part of the orange family. This orange box only looks orange because of the context behind it. It was brown the whole time. So wherever on the light spectrum you think you exist, just remember, you're actually just orange. The loudest word ever shouted was quiet! It is impossible to speak while breathing through your nose. Don't try it. Don't do it. What are you doing? I just said you can't do. What are you doing? Getting angry when you hear other people breathing is called misophonia, and it's actually a brain disorder. So when I was in college, I lived in an apartment complex that had one of these like communal laundry rooms where you had to pay like 50 cents to $1 to use the washing machine and dryer, and I didn't want to do that. So I looked up the unit's model number and bought a lockbox key and saved hundreds of dollars doing laundry. I also never bought any of the textbooks. What am I gonna do with it after the class? Read it? Okay, either find a free PDF of it online, use somebody else's book, or if you absolutely have to buy it, don't buy it from the school bookstore, you're just asking to be robbed. Use a website like Slugbooks to compare the best prices. Another thing I did in college was right before an exam, I would send out a mass email to the class being like, hey, I just finished my study guide. Send me yours and I'll send you mine. Never actually made a study guide, but I ended up with everybody's, would send them back to everybody, and we all get good grades. Okay, even if like 99% of the world's population thought you were ugly as shit, that still leaves over 75 million people that think you're pretty attractive. The word dreamt is the only word in the English language that ends with MT. The calcium in your bones and the iron in your blood came from the explosions of ancient giant stars. Like, I don't know if the picture they just took is quote unquote old enough, but we essentially come from this. This is like a baby photo of us.
ADHD hacks that I wish I knew sooner.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me over. What do you want to do? Oh, I invited you over to be my body double for the day. What? Well, I was hoping that you kind of just sit there while I got some stuff done. So you just want me to sit here while you do stuff? Not help or anything? No, okay, just you being here is gonna help me out a lot, but you can help yourself to anything in the fridge. Why are all your condiments in the vegetable drawer, but your vegetables are in the condiment? Like, what are you doing? Well, if the vegetables were in the drawer, then it'd kind of turn into like a out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, and I would never use them. Kinda makes sense, but it also kinda feels like a sin. I'm telling you, it works for me. Hey, don't put that down. What? Put it away. Oh, don't put it down. Put it away. Don't put it down. Put it away. Don't put it down. Put it away. I thought I was the only one. No, I didn't. This deep under the skin itch happens for a couple of reasons. Most common of which is allergies. And a lot of people say that this usually happens right after they do the dishes. And to that, I say maybe try
getting a different soap, or doing your dishes with gloves on because the hot water can dry your hands out. Another reason is your nerves are just really fucking weird. Like, all the nerves that you have in your like whole leg, okay, can be condensed down into the nerves in your hand. So let's say you get an itch on like your pinky finger. Your brain isn't like, oh, my pinky finger itches. It kind of just like sends the signal to the general deep skin. They say it could also be related to complex motor tics, but unless you have other tics going on, you probably just touched something you're allergic to.